All right, welcome to today's Explainer. We've got an absolutely fascinating topic lined up for you today. We're going to be unpacking a really ambitious initiative called MySchool Ventures. And, based on the source material, this isn't just your standard, let's update the textbooks kind of program. No, this is a massive, fundamental rethink of what education in Africa can actually be. We're talking about shifting the entire focus to turn schools themselves into literal engines for economic growth. So let's just dive right in and see exactly how they're planning to pull this off.
I want you to start by just imagining something for a second. What if every single good idea, whether it's sparked by a teenager in secondary school, a university researcher, or a fresh graduate, actually had the exact ecosystem it needed to become a real breathing business? Every year, we see millions of incredibly ambitious young people graduating across Africa. But so many of them never end up commercializing their ideas, and the source makes a really crucial point here. It is absolutely not a lack of talent. It's a lack of mentorship, funding, and a supportive ecosystem to take that raw talent and build something tangible with it.
And this leads us to this really wild paradox. Get this, Africa imports over $80 billion worth of agricultural and food products every single year. 80 billion. We're talking about everyday goods, stuff you probably have sitting in your kitchen right now that could easily be manufactured locally. Meanwhile, thousands of brilliant university research projects are literally just sitting on library shelves gathering dust. So you have students graduating with heads completely full of theory, but almost zero practical experience in how to actually build a business or manage a production line.
So that brings us right to our first major roadblock, the execution problem, or moving beyond just ideas. Think about the traditional expectations we all know. You go to school, you pass your exams, researchers publish their papers, and schools teach the subjects. Simple, right? Well, MySchool Ventures proposes a total paradigm shift. Instead of just passing a test, they want to ask students, hey, what real-world problem can you solve? They want to ask researchers, can that paper you just wrote actually become a company? It's about shifting away from a system heavy on theory and moving toward a dynamic, practical, problem-solving machine. There's a quote from the source material that I absolutely love, and it really forms the core thesis of this whole initiative. Africa does not have an ideas problem, Africa has an execution problem. The point they're making is that the continent is already overflowing with incredible innovation. The light bulb moments are happening constantly. What's missing is the bridge between that light bulb moment and the actual marketplace. And MySchool Ventures was built specifically to be that bridge. Okay, so how do you build a bridge like that? They lay out a very clear three-step mission. Step 1, you've got to transform those raw ideas into tangible products. Step 2, you build a viable working business around that product. And Step 3, you scale that business into an industry. Actually, scratch that. It's more like an industrialization engine. The goal isn't just a quick, trendy startup. It's about industrializing from the ground up to create jobs and have a generational economic impact.
So, let's break down how they're going to make this happen. Here is Pathway 1, Empowering Individual Innovators. This first pathway is really designed for the builders, university students, researchers, graduates, anyone with that entrepreneurial drive. And the key here is heavy-duty, structured support. They're not just giving a pep talk and sending you on your way. Whether your idea is just a quick sketch on a napkin or a working prototype, you get intensive mentorship. That means help validating the idea, designing the product, figuring out your business model, protecting your intellectual property, and even getting ready for those big investor pitches. The whole shebang. To put this into perspective, let's look at a really great example from the source. Imagine a university student who designs a low-cost water purification system for rural villages. In the old system, they get an A on the project, maybe a pat on the back, and the design goes into the archives. But through MySchool Ventures, that student's research gets transformed into an actual company. They start manufacturing these affordable systems, partnering with NGOs, and hiring locally. The research becomes a product, the product becomes a business, the business changes lives.
And we should also point out that innovation doesn't always have to mean building high-tech robotics or the next big AI tool. Sometimes the best businesses just solve everyday frustrations. Think about an agricultural grad building cheap solar dryers so local farmers stop losing their harvest to rot, or a medical student creating affordable diagnostic tools, education software, clean energy. The really massive, game-changing companies often start as simple solutions to everyday problems.
All right, let's zoom out to the institutional level and look at Pathway 2, School Production Ecosystems.
Now, think about this. Why should schools only produce graduates? Why couldn't they produce the next generation of business leaders right there on campus?
Instead of kids just sitting at a desk reading about farming or imagining what it's like to run a business, the focus here is strictly learning by doing. Students are actually out there harvesting crops, processing real goods, balancing financial ledgers, and building actual mini-businesses before they even get handed their diploma.
And the scale of what these on-campus school innovation centers aim to produce is pretty mind-blowing. Picture walking into a local secondary school and seeing students, mentored by industry experts, running a production line. They're making honey, fruit juice, natural cosmetics, soap, organic fertilizer, dairy products, you name it. And they're marketing these things themselves. The school gets an entirely new income stream, and the community gets high-quality, locally made products. It's a win-win.
Which leads us perfectly into one of the most powerful economic levers discussed in the material, value addition, or agriculture beyond farming.
Look, agriculture is obviously massive, but if you're just selling raw crops like plain cassava, tomatoes, milk, or cocoa, your profit margins are incredibly thin. But this is where value addition changes the game. Students learn how to take that raw cassava and turn it into high-quality packaged flour. Tomatoes become premium tomato paste. Milk becomes cheese, cocoa becomes chocolate, mangoes become bottled juice. Every single time you take a raw material and turn it into a finished product, you add immense value. And you create a brand new business in the process.
Bring all of these elements together, and you step right into the new paradigm, building an innovation economy.
What this really boils down to is a complete redefinition of what success actually means in education. It's no longer just about seeing a high grade on a piece of paper. Success is measured by how many students can walk out the door and actively solve problems, build sustainable businesses, and create local jobs. A young person who enters adulthood already knowing how to manufacture a product and manage a budget, that is a person armed with serious, real-world confidence.
And the vision here is so much bigger than just helping out one or two promising entrepreneurs. It's about weaving a massive, interconnected ecosystem across the entire continent. Schools, investors, researchers, governments, all pulling in the exact same direction. Because one successful startup inspires 3 more. The core philosophy of MySchool Ventures is that Africa's economic future won't be built by waiting around for outside opportunities. It's going to be built by creating them from within. Simply put, the future belongs to those who build.
The next billion-dollar African enterprise might literally start as a quick idea shared today in a secondary school classroom. That's the ultimate vision we've explored today, transforming education into enterprise and turning that enterprise into lasting prosperity. So as we wrap up today's explainer, I want to leave you with one final provocative question. Will you help build Africa's future? Take a moment to think about how these concepts could apply to your own community or even your own ideas. Thanks so much for joining me today. Keep learning, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.